A wider span on Africa, President of France Emmanuel Macron has accused Russia of being a power destabilizing Africa, noting that this has been documented by the United Nations in the Central African Republic. The French leader, in an interview on Friday with France Info RFI France 24 on the sidelines of a Paris summit, pointed out that the Russian mercenary in Africa, the Wagner, has committed violent acts against the civil populace on the continent. This comes amidst claims by Moscow that it was developing constructive relations with Africa. According to Macron, it is a power destabilizing Africa through private militias that come to predate and commit acts of violence against civilian populations. In his view, Russia has of its own volition put itself in a situation where it no longer respects international law, where it has once again become one of the few colonial powers of the 21st century by waging a war of empire against its neighbor Ukraine.
Since its last year's invasion of Ukraine, Russia has sought to strengthen its economic and diplomatic ties with Africa, competing in some countries with France, a former colonial power on the continent. Macron did not rule out the possibility of holding talks with Russian President Vladimir Putin if the opportunity arose and the conditions were right. Asked if the Russian president calls him tomorrow, of course, I will pick up the phone, Mr. Macron said. If he calls me to propose something, I will take it because France has always been a facilitating and mediating power. But he qualified the resumption of dialogue is only possible if there is respect for international law, which is the only one that allows us to live in peace. While he also reiterated that he himself had no reason to call Vladimir Putin today during the Ukrainian counteroffensive, he says the time will come. He says he hopes for negotiations on Ukraine's terms.
Now, Moscow's response, however, dismissed the accusations, assuring that it was developing constructive relations in Africa with the continent's countries. Russia is developing with African countries friendly, constructive relations based on mutual respect, Russian presidential spokesman Dmitry Peskov told reporters. These relations are not and cannot be directed against third countries, he also stated. It seems it's a never ending fight over Africa for these nations of influence.